All right,
So,
we are
Rich,
live.
is that does that say the North Face on your sweatshirt?
The North Face, yeah, yeah.
That's not even a college. That's not even a
No,
football team.
it's not. No, just a clothing company. So you
Do
don't
you
have any,
wear that while you mountain climb?
North Face gear. You were just hiking in the where were you again? It was beautiful.
Yosemite.
Yosemite. Some North Face gear could have done you well up in the Yosemite. So
Is that a Christmas present?
no, I think last year Christmas I got this. So and there's Sophia, but she's got my background. That's so funny. Sophia,
No, it's
it defaults to that for some reason. So you might want to change your background, or people are going to think we're really weird.
Oh,
Weirder,
it's too late. Yeah.
weirder. Yeah.
like
So
Sophia,
sorry
hi. I
about
don't
that.
think I don't think we've ever met, have we?
No. Hey, Rob. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
very
Are you
rare.
going to
When,
the IMB conference in a couple weeks?
I'm not going to that one. The next one I'm going to is Experience. Let
All
me
right.
adjust my background. I should adjust it. Hang on 1 second.
very rare when the very well-traveled Rob Chrisman has not met a guest until we log on to the show. So we're breaking new ground here.
Actually, I should take that back. I sat next to Rob at a conference. He didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was. He was talking to someone from I think it was a gal who came to chat with us from Amazon at the MBA last year. But I think I was interrupting a
Amazon?
lunch. Was it Amazon? She's talking about
Amazon like the
AI.
like I don't know. Sophia, when you get to my age, I don't even know what I had for lunch yesterday, much less like
Peanut M&Ms, I'm going to guess, and Diet Coke. No?
no. Took the granddaughter for a burger.
Oh, there you
She
go.
ate half the flippin' burger.
God, I skipped lunch. You're making me so hungry right now.
Oh, it was really good. And they do this sauce for the French fries, Rich.
Please stop.
Okay.
Well, I'm skipping lunch for this, so I'm excited. I'm getting hungry just listening to this.
You live in Denver, right?
Yes, in Boulder.
Very good. Very good. All right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. My name is Rich Swerbinsky with Onward and Upward Consulting, and this is the big picture presented by our friends and partners at Depth. 2 decades of experience, very seasoned PR and marketing firm serving the real estate finance industry, the fintech industry. I believe Floify, a Depth client, right? So
We love Depth. Depth has been an amazing partner. So just thank you very much. Yes.
great people and a great firm. So, and as always, pleased to be joined my esteemed colleague and co-host, Rob Chrisman. Rob, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And this week, very pleased to be joined by our special guest, the president and general manager of Floify. It is Sofia Rossato. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us on the big picture.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. Well,
All
Rob,
right. I'm gonna
you're going
I'm
to
gonna
interrupt
hijack this right off the bat, Rich.
right out of the gate. There you go.
So, Sophia, did you grow up in the Denver Boulder area?
I did not. I'm originally from Argentina, so hablo español, hola. And I grew up in Miami and went to school in Philadelphia, moved to the east to New York City, and then to Colorado. But I've been in Colorado and Boulder, Denver for 20 years.
Isn't
How
it Argentina?
Argentina, sí.
See,
how
Very
crazy
good.
did
pues,
you go
pues,
when they won the
claro.
world when they won the World Cup? Were you going nuts?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that was the most exciting soccer game I've ever seen. I should say football, but for the gringos, I'll call it soccer. Yeah, it was amazing. And I'm not really a huge soccer fan, but that was seeing the rows of 6 lanes of traffic downtown in Buenos Aires was just fantastic. My kids were wearing Argentina and American flags shirts. It was a great time to celebrate.
One of the
Did you
greatest.
subtly call Rich and me gringos?
Yes, I can do blancos if that's better because I that's what I call my partner.
Incredible game, the Messi Mbappe duel, Angel St. Maria with the goal and the heart. I mean, it was just, I watched the YouTube, like the 12-minute recap of that game, probably once every like 3 months. It was
Yeah.
just amazing. So
Rich, how do you pull these things out of the archives? When was this? When was this match?
the World Cup, Rob, I mean, it's, one of the biggest sporting events in the world, if not the biggest. I mean,
So just last year.
it was a couple of years ago now. So yeah. Argentina
Right.
France final was epic. Went in the extra time and then penalty kicks and the two greatest soccer players in the world pretty much just going mano a mano, just scoring goal after goal against one another. It was pretty memorable. So
Is that Maradona or Messi or who?
Messi.
Ooh, Maradona, Rob, Maradona was when you and I were that was many decades ago. This was Messi. This is the new soccer player, Messi. Yes.
All
All right,
right.
I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here in silence.
Let's go ahead and get into it. And yes, I see the chat. We've got what an incredible stretch of football that kicks off tonight as well. I can't go without mentioning that. These next 5 nights are, going to be really amazing with the Buckeyes going tomorrow night. But Rob, moving it back to the mortgage world here for a second. Lot of stuff going on. Our girl Sandy T at CFPB stepped down today, or announced she was going to step down. I'm sorry, FHFA. CFPB staying in the news as always, eliminating medical debt, that announcement, and then also suing Warren Buffett and Vanderbilt mortgage. That one was interesting. Ally Bank and Evolve Bank and Trust got out of the mortgage industry. A couple decent sized bank lenders, and rates are still high. So I'll as per normal, I'll throw you a bunch of gobbledygook there and see which way you take it to get us started here.
Gosh, I don't know where to start other than to say, um, banks, big banks obviously have different revenue lines. And so it's unusual for a large bank to entirely eliminate mortgage lending. Usually it's more the Wells Fargo, we're going to eliminate wholesale, and then we're going to eliminate correspondent, but we're going to keep our branch network. I mean, when somebody goes into, I haven't read actually the details of Ally, but if a longtime depositor goes into a bank and wants a mortgage, what are they going to say? Sorry, or are they going to pick up that phone over there in the corner and they pick it up and on the other line is Rocket Mortgage? Or I mean, I don't know how they're going to handle uh, their clients because banks apostrophe depositors are a good source of steady business. So to eliminate that channel entirely is unusual. Um, the the eliminating medical debt, and I think we could ask Sophia, but I view eliminating medical debt from credit reports as not necessarily a great thing. The release said, well, this will allow 22,000 potential borrowers more every year to potentially buy a home. And my Eeyore mind immediately went to, well, that's just more 22,000 more units of demand for first-time home buyer housing. And so inventory is already crunched. And so it's just like if rates went to zero, there's just not the inventory to handle that kind of thing. So, we'll see. And we'll see if the CFPB reverses that come, this year later on. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks right now with regard to the change in administration, and I think that the talk out there, the talk from President-elect Trump about not ruling out violence in obtaining Greenland, or renaming the Gulf of Mexico, or dealing with the Panama Canal. I think that's taken some of the spotlight away from what might happen in the regulatory arena, what might happen with tariffs and so on. But yeah, it'll be interesting no matter what. So never, it's always something new.
Never a dull moment. And Sophia, thank you for joining us. And Sophia is the president and general manager of Floify. And Sophia, I guess why don't you start by just telling our listeners and viewers a little bit about Floify that might not be aware of your company.
Sure thing. So we are a mortgage point of sale, mortgage automation technology platform. So we help to, if you think about the puzzle pieces, we sit in between, say, the CRM and the LOS. So those are the three legs of the stool. You've got your CRM, you've got your point of sale, and you've got your loan origination system. We integrate with 50 plus integration partners, everything from credit verification services, CRM, loan origination systems, all kinds of productivity tools. And really our goal is to get more home buyers into homes faster and help lenders and brokers close more loans faster. So what we're known as is really specialists in the field when it comes to client experience and being able to customize that experience. So custom workflows, and these workflows are becoming more and more important, especially with many of these AI companies that are coming out of the woodwork. This is going to be an interesting ecosystem to discuss and kind of dig into. But what we're basically seeing is lenders have many different ways to interpret regulation. They have many different ways to figure out what kind of workflows they want for, say, their distributed retail teams, to maybe they're dipping their toe in the water to consumer direct. And those require different workflows, different experiences when a borrower comes in and lands on your site. And so our platform was basically built with configuration in mind. I'm not going to say customization, that's expensive, right? But configuration in mind. If you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that's what we're specialists in.
Awesome. And Sophia, we jumped on a Zoom. I had not met you before. I'd heard such great things about you. And we jumped on a Zoom a couple months ago and just totally enjoyed the conversation. I was telling Rob before you jumped on, my brain immediately went to, we got to get her on the big picture because she'd be a great guest. But we talked a lot about AI, and in 2024 was just what a remarkable year for just the advancement of generative AI, just the way that it is applied into life. I run two small businesses. It is incredible, like the impact that it's having for me. I mean, like it's like the equivalent of like a 40 to 50 hour a week employee for what it's doing for my businesses. It's really amazing, and would love just your insight on, I guess, AI in general, and then as it applies to the mortgage arena, maybe some things that are not quite yet here that could be coming in the generative AI world that all of us in the industry could be seeing a lot more of.
Yeah, it's I love nerding out in this space just because my entire background is pretty much fintech, and that's what I've been in before coming into mortgage. And so seeing these two worlds come together is quite exciting. I think in mortgage, there's a huge opportunity because it is the most complex part of fintech that I've ever seen. I thought I had seen it all working with the largest banks, building big systems, commission management systems with Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, all the big bulge bracket banks. But it really almost does not compare to just the complexity of the ecosystem that exists in mortgage and the ways that people can configure the different workflows. And so I think AI is going to have a big role to play. I'm also a little bit concerned about it in that a lot of people are very excited and willing to jump in, but you're going to need a lot more of this sort of what I'm thinking about, almost an architect, almost a consulting view into, should you just try to operationalize and optimize your current workflow, or do you want to start with a blank sheet of paper, because it truly is that new world that's facing us today. I agree with you, Rich. I think AI has saved not only our engineers in terms of code creation, code validation, taken a regular engineer to a 10x engineer almost overnight if you do it right and you're doing your prompt engineering right. But the same thing with sales, same thing with success, same thing with marketing. So really, even outside of mortgage, if you guys are not you guys, but if all of us, if we're not truly spending some time to do some good prompt design, people sometimes get scared with the word engineering. It's really just knowing how to prompt the AI. You're going to be left behind. It's not that hard to do. And I have an open invitation to anyone who would want my free little starter pack on how to get your prompt engineering going. And I can even, show you guys how to turn off, data sharing. So you're keeping all of your data safe. You're doing all that, but you're 10xing what you're doing every week. Now, as it relates to mortgage in particular, there's so many parts of the loan manufacturing process where AI can play, and already plays. It's been playing a role for many years. People just haven't called it that. It's now with generative AI and these LLMs that have come out, it's really come to the forefront. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest areas that we've seen, there's two areas that I keep hearing from clients over and over in terms of areas of interest. Number one is fraud. And how can AI help from a fraud perspective? Because AI is helping both the good guys and the bad guys. And so it's almost a catch up that people are playing constantly. And then the other is helping in demand generation. So we've got some clients, for example, who have been in distributed retail for a long time and are now dipping their toe in the water, getting into consumer direct. And for that group that is going after consumer direct, okay, they may not have all the resources of, say, a Rocket or a better.com, but guess what? They can have a lot of the tools that can help generate that demand. And those tools are now accessible, whereas they weren't in the past. So I'm pretty excited about those two sides of it. And I think it will help our industry. What I do, if I can just jump in on this piece, what I am a little bit concerned about is, I think I mentioned it before, there's a ton of point solutions coming out of the woodwork. And so now you've got AI companies that say, well, now we sit between the CRM and the POS, and then you have the LOS, and then or we sit between these three different components, and it can get quite just overwhelming for clients, for lenders to understand which one should I go with and how should I test it out. If you are part of a larger lender, you've got a CIO position where you can actually take some of those bets and test things out, great. But many people don't have the overall view of how all these puzzle pieces come together. And in that case, I would say, be very careful with who you decide to partner with. Are they a true partner who's going to actually take more of a higher level consulting type role? Or are they just going to stay in their lane and, plug something in for you? And that's going to become more and more important now. There's actually a picture that when we were at the MBA annual, I was on stage with Jody Hall from Danda Road, and she listed all of these different vendors in these different swim lanes, from point of sale to PPE to LOS to CRM, to automated underwriting systems. And I said, what did this chart look like 5 years ago? And we looked at each other, and she said it was half, not even half. So we've got over 200 vendors in mortgage technology today. And it's hard. It's a difficult ecosystem for lenders to wade through. You do need some guidance and some thought around how you're going to tackle that space and incorporate AI.
You need a vendor Sherpa.
Mm-hmm.
It is confusing. I mean, my lender clients, it's almost all of them now. I'm working with them on some level with this, is trying to just understand the landscape, because it is challenging, confusing. They have vendor partners that they're working with and contracting with currently. They're being called on by everybody else. Everybody's positioning themselves as an AI vendor. And then you have these free or close to free tools that are also emerging that, quite frankly, in some elements of the mortgage industry are doing as good or better a job than pay vendors that purported to do the same thing. So it's a lot to navigate if you're a mortgage lender right now.
How can they be
Yeah.
free, Rich?
Well, your favorite, Rob, Chat GPT. I mean, it's a lot of lenders are just incorporating that into their daily flows. Their processors, their loan originators, all elements, honestly. Working with several different clients now that, some are using the enterprise solution, where you can get lots of employees on it. But, as just one example, but
I would really caution on that, because if something is free, it means you are the product. And so they're going to use your data, they're going to use other things. And so that's where I would say, for example, we use ChatGPT, but we pay for it. And the first thing we do is you just go to your settings and turn off data sharing. So it does not share any of the data with the public large language models. So just be careful about the free side of it. But to your point, I mean, how do you guys see you've been in the industry, in the mortgage industry longer than I have. I've come more from the fintech side and have been now in mortgage for, in almost 3 years now. And what I'm seeing is change management is a huge issue in mortgage. When you have a system as configurable as ours, sometimes clients configure the system and then they forget what they configured. And then, wait, so why did we turn this button this way or that way? And it's going to that issue is going to expand exponentially as you add these adjacent, bolt-on AI tools and other things. And so how do I've got a view on it, but I'm really curious, how do you guys see the governance aspect of it working with all of these different vendors?
Well, at least from my perspective, I mean, all lenders of a certain scale now, yeah, I mean, kind of have somebody that is very senior that is assigned to the change management arena. And overseeing the people that administer the systems and playing some role in the vendor selection and due diligence process, because it is a lot to deal with. And then you have on top of that just the kind of ongoing lingering, I'm looking for the right word, but the integration ecosystem in mortgage has never really been great. You've had one big LOS that's had a lot of market share, and they got a lot of poker chips at the table, and it's just that, and a lot of new vendors coming into the mortgage space during the pandemic bloat years. The integration part of our industry is just, it's jacked up, and those change management people, I think, are at least in my experience, playing a big role in trying to figure that out as well. But it is a lot. It is like, it's one of the number one issues right now for mortgage lenders, and a lot of them are not cash rich right now because the climate has been crappy. So you add that on top of it, it's like assessing vendors that you have that you wish you didn't have, that can we get out of these contracts, and then what are we to replace it with? Some lenders are experimenting with, hiring engineers and people to, try to build elements of some of their own stuff. It's the most convoluted I've ever seen this part of our industry, at least in my life in the industry.
Yeah, I can't. You talk about vendor management or change management. I joke that I don't even remember how to change my car's clock twice a year. So it just sits on whatever time it sits on year after year. But yeah, it's vendor management used to be what do we add, and now it's what do we subtract. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
it's an interesting, I think it's an interesting idea to think through because there's several routes, right? Rich, you just said it. It's one is you can try to build your own tech, and some of the larger shops are doing that and experimenting with it. That's going to be, it's great when you're starting from zero and a blank piece of paper, but maintaining that over time as people want more and add more, that's where the challenge comes in. The other is hiring help, and that can get pricey, especially in this environment, which is really, really challenging during this time of transition. And we just saw the rates, mortgage rates went up again, last week. So so that's where I come back to, who are your existing vendors? Are you using 1% of everything they offer, 10%? Do you know what else they are providing and innovating, and how willing are they to work with each other on your behalf as a lender? That's the number one thing where we're seeing some really nice success is, hey, this is software as a service. It's SaaS. Guess what? The word service is part of that acronym. And so we have to provide service. We've got to be more consultative, especially in an ecosystem where you've got lots of integrations and players. It used to be that I would work with a company, with a bank, and here are 3 integrations that we offer, and that's it. But mortgage is very different. A lender brings in high producing teams, and they really like this one specific CRM or this one particular type of tech. They might have enough sway to say, yes, let them integrate that. So you've got to have a system that allows you to bring that in, manage it, and then help you figure out what that workflow looks like. I would love for it to be, you go from definition to design, discovery, launch, and then you're done. And now it's turned on and everything works great. But the reality, especially in mortgage, is you got to go discovery, definition, journey mapping, the reason why behind it, launch, then go back to definition and discovery, this change management idea and framework, go back to that, do that all over again, and then get to launch. And then once you launch, you have this new piece called governance, because you have teams coming in and out all the time, and not all of them may use it in the same way that others did. And so I think the vendors that understand that flow, understand that it's a relationship. The relationship isn't just between the LO and the borrower. The relationship is between your vendor partners. I don't even like the word vendor. We're partners. We're not vendors, right? So the relationship between your partners that make your tech stack a reality and have you be as a lender successful, wildly successful with the software that you've got. Those are the relationships that last and that matter. And that's what we're focused on.
Sophia, what made you want to go into mortgage from, I guess you said you had a fintech background before you got into quote mortgage. What made you do that?
So I've been in fintech for a few decades, and one of my passion areas of one of my kind of passion projects, I did a small startup actually in this space as well, is personal financial management. And I got into personal financial management software that had been there for a couple of decades. And so I've always been really interested from the consumer side, for example, not just B2B, the consumer side. How can we empower people to become financially independent over time, and especially underrepresented groups, people who would normally not be able to have that opportunity. And so I was actually, someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, we have a leadership role." I had been a CEO of a company that was an early adopter of AI, that was doing omni-channel chat. And I sold that company during the pandemic to a private equity firm, and stayed there for another year as a leader. And then I was recruited in. Floify had just sold to Porch Group, and I was recruited in to be their new president and GM. And it completely aligned with what I had done in the past, which is, when I saw this, I thought, my goal, what I would love to do is get 1 million people into homes and help people get into homes faster, because it is you can either do, capital markets or real estate. And those are really the two biggest ways that we're going to help Americans grow their wealth. And I'm very passionate about that from a personal finance standpoint. And so it aligned pretty well. What I didn't know is just how complicated mortgage is. And I think it's a great puzzle. It's constantly changing. The thing that makes it complicated for me, and it makes it a really cool kind of exciting type of puzzle to solve, is the regulatory landscape is also constantly changing. So when you think you can do something in technology and, oh, that's not hard, let's put this field here, flow it through to an LOS, it's great. No, actually the GSEs don't let you do it. And there's a reason for that. And maybe it's not a good reason anymore, but it was 5 years ago. And so you got to get involved in advocacy. And I'm part of some advocacy efforts as well to try to change things. And I think that's such a cool environment to be a part of, is that you've got lots of different levers that you can pull to try to move this needle forward of getting more people into homes.
This is the big picture.
Answer. Oh, sorry.
With Onward and Upward Consulting, and this week we are really, really pleased to be joined by Sofia Rossato, the CEO, our president and general manager of Floify, and once again our sponsor of the Big Picture Depth, our good friends. And Sofia, the personalization, a word that we're hearing a lot now, associated with AI, and some of the changes that we'll see in the future. As it relates to if it's borrowers that are in the pre-approval pipeline or, in the application to closing journey. If you could just talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the things that you see on the horizon that could be exciting as it relates to just customer experience and things that will be available to lenders.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I would say, like, just caution all of us, is to not paint AI with a black and white brush. Because I've heard some lenders, clients say, forget AI, we want the super high touch experience, so we're not going to use it. Or go the other way. Everything's going to be automated. And the fact is that AI, I shouldn't say this, it's like cancer. It's very different. It depends on what use case you're using it for. It can spread and be anywhere. And so if you are, and I mean it in a positive way, not in a negative way, but for example, if you are if you are a lender and you're thinking about going consumer direct, then maybe thinking about a full touchless pre-approval workflow using AI might be the way you want to go, right? That gets closer to, say, the Rockets or better.com or what have you. And those are not easy things to do. You got to get automated underwriting systems, put pieces in a point of sale, connect to your LOS, get verification going, credit, all of that. But someone might say, well, we want our loan officers to have that personal relationship with the borrower, so we're not going to do that. But that doesn't mean that loan officer can't, and processor and underwriter behind them can't use AI in other ways to make their jobs better. And so we've seen use cases, for example, where some lenders actually have the problem of too many top of funnel leads coming in, and they don't have the manpower to deal with all of those top of funnel leads. And so, or to qualify them. AI is a perfect use case for that. And frankly, some borrowers, some consumers might have a better experience talking to a very friendly AI bot than to feel like they're getting qualified, by a call center. And then once they get qualified, then they can go and talk to a human. The trick with using AI on the top of a funnel for demand generation is you got to have certain rules. Number one, you never let a human being hit a loop that they can't get out of. They should always be able to get out of that loop with the AI, with the bot, the Gen AI bot, and talk to a human. That's number one, because as human beings, our ability to have patience with another human being is probably here. To have patience with a bot, it's down here. So you can't let them hit a loop. You got to let them escape. That's kind of rule one. The second is self-identify, and identify yourself very clearly and upfront. Hi, I'm Sofia. I'm your friendly, loan officer assistant, and I'm here to schedule a call with you to tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. You have to say that up front. You can't try to trick people, and people are becoming smarter and smarter over time. And you have to be honest about what the technology is, what it can do and what it can't do, and put in the right guardrails. I think I was working with a company that was testing out lead generation management as the funnels are coming in. And they had to, there's a lot of testing that you have to do, especially with generative AI. I think the Gen AI bot tried to put somebody on, get a mortgage on the moon if you let them go, without guardrails. So you have to make sure you're putting in you're working with really good vendors, or partners, I should say, and that you have to put those guardrails in to make sure that they stay in compliance. There are lots of people that are also entering this space. My friend Brooke, who does advisory AI, is really focused on, okay, let's make sure that those guardrails are true and that we put them in upfront before you let a bot loose. So that's kind of on the top end. And then on the back end, it's going way beyond OCR. It's going into an ideal situation would be somebody uploads all of their documents, or their documents are completely already automatically uploaded because you're getting them through verification integrations. For example, we've got this. But then they go into a bucket somewhere without having to define them, without having to extract metadata to put them into machine readable formats, to basically have them all auto categorized. And it's never going to be perfect. They get it to be good enough so that the fulfillment teams know what to do as a next step. You're never going to get to this place where, we can just replace fulfillment with this completely automated underwriting system. That's not reasonable unless you're talking about the simplest of simplest loans with perfect documentation, but it's going to make the people who are there a lot better. That 10x idea of having a co-pilot. So co-pilots, I think, is the future for AI on the back end, because we're not talking medical where you have to be 100% right, or financial services where, with regulations, you have to be 100% right, but it's pretty close in mortgage. You kind of can't make a mistake. So that's why I think co-pilots are going to be the way to go on the back end.
So Sophia, you are heading up one of the most, well-known companies in the industry in terms of this space, as they say. What is your average day like? What do you do all day?
Wow, no one's asked me that question, Rob. Thank you. um, Actually, today is not an average day because we have our leadership offsite and I'm hosting it. So the team's out to lunch right now. So I can be with you fine gentlemen. And when they come back, I will, by the way, Jason Mape says hi, Rich. So
Oh,
he's
I love
our,
one of my favorite guys, Jason Mapes. So yeah, great
oh,
hire.
that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. He's yeah, he and Courtney and others are out to lunch with the team. And it's,
Probably watching
to
this
be
on their
honest,
phone, maybe. No.
they might be watching it on their phone. They wanted to broadcast it on the TV, and I said, no, that's going to make me too nervous. Don't do it. But they're out to lunch. I was trying to distract them during this. My typical day is really working. I used to have it be compartmentalized between, outbound, strategic, tactical response. But in a typical day, if we weren't doing the offsite this week, it would look something like this. My brain works the best in the morning. So any of the hard thinking I need to do, I do that in the first few hours when I wake up. It's do the hard things first, whether it's a strategic decision that you have to make. It's difficult being a leader, as you guys know. It's oftentimes your decisions, you only get 5, 6, maybe 7 in the year that really, really matter. For example, deciding what innovation to go after, what partnerships to take on, to say yes to, what client requests to prioritize, and how to navigate all of those conversations. So it's those are the more difficult questions. I try to work on those in the morning, and that might be long-term planning, strategic planning, working through the teams through what we call identify, discuss, and solve (IDS). And then in the second half of the day, it becomes more tactical. So it is execution on our quarterly goals and working with each one of our teams, whether it's engineering or product, client success, support, sales, marketing, to basically, I'm in service to them. It's what problems are you having, meeting your goals, and how can I help you remove that friction? And whether it's jumping on client calls, getting on a plane to go visit a client, figuring out a difficult connection point with a partner. So that's how I divide up my day. Hopefully that's a good answer, Rob.
Yeah. So one last odd question. You've probably never been asked before. I'm good at that, by the way. You open up your laptop or your computer, and there's a bunch of emails. Do you go like to the easy emails first, or do you see, okay, this is gonna be hard, I'm gonna tackle this first?
Well, there's urgent and then there's important matrix, right? So whatever is most important and most urgent, top right, I'll go and tackle those first. But and then there's the urgent but not important, and then important but not urgent. And I tried to give a little bit of love to each one of those categories every day, but the first one's the urgent and important.
So does AI sort your email like that?
Yeah, it's actually, I've got, well, so a few things. So we've got some AI tools that help with all of the summaries on the emails. I've also got it on my phone. I just, after having the same phone for 4 years, I finally upgraded, and they've got some weird issues. I don't know if you guys have tried the AI on Apple. They're figuring it out, but it's getting better and better. And the Apple Intelligence is actually kind of cool because the pop-ups you get on your phone are no longer the first 2 sentences of whatever that email is. It's actually an AI summary of what the most important points are. So that's actually helped too.
Yeah, they just rolled that feature out for my flip phone, so I'm excited to explore it.
Nice.
So one of my fears of AI is just the impact it's going to have on employment. I think I saw a stat. LinkedIn did a big study of thousands of companies, and I think 73% of them said that they plan to either eliminate jobs or hire less because of advances in Gen AI. Just your thoughts on that issue. It's the one thing that, and the dumbing down of it, like when it's just so easy to get information. I don't know if that helps make Americans smarter or, dumber, but where it's just so easy to get information so quickly, even, beyond the Google search world. But your thoughts on just how employment could be impacted, like in the short term and the medium long term?
Yeah, it's so my son is taking an economics class in high school, and they were studying the same thing in the past few months, and it's this concept. It's called structural unemployment, right? It's when something changes and it causes a shift, and we are going to see some structural unemployment across industries because of this. However, the same was said in any new innovation. If you think about, people used to think we would have too much time when the train was invented. What are people going to do with their hours in the day? Or that couldn't, our bodies couldn't take moving that fast from point A to point B in the train. None of those things came true. What ended up happening is you now have to abstract up. And in fact, what I think is really interesting is the liberal arts, where it used to be, okay, if you want to make money, if you want to move forward in any industry, you have to go and study a technical field. I don't know that that's going to be true as much. I mean, certainly I think technology is something everybody should study. I came out of college and taught myself database programming and, to get into the fintech side. And so you just need to know enough so that you can talk the talk and understand some of these basic concepts. But critical thinking is going to become more and more important, right? So it isn't because anybody can Google, and this was before AI, an answer on the web. Now anybody can use a chat GPT to come up with ideas or present a strategy or a plan. Now what's going to happen, the next level abstraction up, is going to be, what do you do with that data and how do you prompt it? I can't tell you the number of colleagues and friends who have said, oh, I tried AI, it doesn't work. I'm like, oh, really? Well, what did you ask it? Oh, you asked it like that? Why didn't you ask it like this? Why didn't you give it an identity? Give it a tap. So it's going to become about how you ask and how you continue to train these models, which I think, frankly, is a lot more exciting. It's a lot more conversations, the way human beings interact back and forth in conversations. So it's just going to change, but there is going to be a period of people not having, there will be structural unemployment. And, I'm seeing people question whether or not four-year degrees are needed, going back to the trades. I think that's going to be something that our country is going to see more and more, not only because of AI, but because there was a big push to move to these four-year degrees. And I don't know that that's going to be the case going forward.
I agree. I've got one at Ohio State and three teens that we have in the house, and I'm trying to talk them all out of college, honestly. And
Mm,
not in a productive way, to use those years differently, because I do think that
mm.
one of the trends that we see, and the price of college keeps going up. I'd argue the value of that degree is definitely not going up at the same level that the cost is going up, in my opinion. And I think that could, continue to magnify, but we'll see what happens there. But Sophia, any technology trends, is just somebody with a deep background in the space that you're like personally excited about, like outside of mortgage, anything that you're seeing in your circles that could be coming down the road that could be exciting?
Yeah, I haven't seen this yet, and I'm hoping someone does it. Is this concept of, I don't think everybody's really great at prompt engineering or prompt design with AI, and so you're starting to see these ecosystems of GPTs that already exist. Like, you could go to ChatGPT today if you have a license, and $20 a month, right, for an individual license. Go in, make sure you turn off data sharing, step one, but then go explore the GPTs. There's tons of mortgage GPTs, personal finance GPTs. You don't have to start training your own GPT from day one. They exist. Just choose the ones that have a lot of followers, so that you're not, choosing something that maybe hasn't been vetted. What I would like to see is personal financial plans for people that incorporates data that isn't just public, but actually is behind the scenes. So data that is gated. So what financial advisors have, what LOs have, what, outside of mortgage, it's if you wanted to say retire in 5 years, 10 years, or you wanted to go do something else, the data that these GPTs are using, many of them are just public sources. And I want to see more high fidelity, good data sets being used to give people plans for themselves on a personal level. Claude is doing some of that. It's actually, if you guys are play around with Claude Anthropic, their GPTs tend to look more at research papers, which is good, but we need that in a much bigger way. That's what I'm looking for.
Interesting. Well answered. And as always, the time flies by here on the big picture. And Sofia, I want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Very enlightening conversation. And yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you
I
for.
imagine that the team will be heading back from McDonald's any minute.
Yes. I can't wait for them to give me a hard time as they walk back in. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And Rob, next time I'll introduce myself properly when I see you at the next conference.
Or vice versa.
Thank
And
you.
to our live viewers, thank you for jumping on the live. If you're listening to this on podcast or watching on YouTube, join the live broadcast. They're fun, interactive, and yeah, you can go to chrismancommentary.com to get registered for the live versions of the broadcast. And we are here every Thursday live at 3 p.m. Eastern. And once again, I want to thank Sofia for joining us. And Rob,
Yes,
great
thank
to
you.
see you, as always.
Thank you, Depth.
And thank you to
Thank
our
you so
partners,
much.
friends at Depth, and go Buckeyes tomorrow night. So take that in.
Is college football still going?
It is. We're down to 4 teams. Notre Dame, Penn State play tonight, and then Ohio State and Texas tomorrow night. So 4 blue bloods, and then the national championship game a week from Monday. So
I know where Robbie
Excellent.
will be tomorrow night. Probably
Yeah.
watching TV.
Oh, that's right. I got to talk some shit to him. I forgot about that. He's a UT grad, so I'm gonna send him some text taunts right after we get done here. So
Fantastic.
Thank you,
It was
Sophia.
have a great
Thank you.
rest
Ciao,
of your
Blancos. Ciao.
week.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.